So a meme, as we know it from the internet, is not necessarily what meme means.
Say meme means 10 times fast.
Meme means meme.
There you go. I got there. Woo!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Who is My Doctor?
Hooray!
I am your host, Zach, and I know a lot about Doctor Who.
And my name is Cassie. I'm also a host, and I don't know.
She don't know nothing.
I know nothing.
She knows one episode's worth of the show at this
All
point.
I know is fine dining and breathing.
Fine dining and breathing. But we're on to the second episode today.
We are indeed on the second episode.
This one is called
today.
The End of the World.
I thought the first episode was the end of the world.
Nope, the first episode was called Rose. This is the end of the world.
Again.
Yeah,
the end of the world.
The end of
seems
another world
to happen often.
I mean, a common premise for a lot of sci-fi things is...
I suppose what a bold statement.
Yep.
Here, first episode, we're introducing you to our titular characters. Second episode, it's all going down, baby.
The world itself is ending. So we're going to continue this bit from the last episode where I have, we're going to just let you guess what this is about. I know last time we had you guess who Rose is or what Rose was, and now you determined it was a person.
It's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough because it's called The End of the World, which doesn't really narrow it down in terms of sci-fi premises.
Nope.
So I'll just give you another little nugget. This episode prominently features a character also named Cassandra.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, it's a very rare thing.
There's only one other show that I can think of off the top of my noggin that has a character by the name of Cassandra, which is the Rapunzel Tangled animated series. Not the Rapunzel show. The antagonist, for lack of a better term, is also named Cass.
Okay.
And then there's Cassandra Peterson, but that's a whole other bag of worms.
Yep. This particular episode does prominently feature a character by the name of Cassandra O'Brien.
Whoa, Irish.
So I'm going to give you just that little nugget. There's a prominent character named Cassandra, and the title is The End of the World.
Can I also cheat a little bit and see what the thumbnail is on the specific streaming app that we're using?
Sure.
Damn it, that doesn't help.
It doesn't help
all.
at all. Not even a little bit. It's just Christopher Eccleston leaning over the TARDIS console. There's no help at all.
No. Dang-daroo. Okay. So I'd imagine that this is not necessarily a continuation of the Nestine. Am I saying that right?
The Nestine consciousness.
Nestine?
The Nestine.
Nesting.
Nestine.
Nesting consciousness.
Nestene.
Sure.
Nestine.
I imagine that we won't be seeing much of that again, at least for a while.
I can't remember a time they ever come back.
Okay, cool. So this is a whole new big bad.
Yep.
This is something else. If I had to take a wild guess on my Cass is right calculator, is it perhaps a different world? You know what? That's going to be my guess. We're not on Earth anymore. This is the end of a different world.
Okay, so you think that they
We're the invaders.
Interesting.
The human Rose is the invader.
Rose is the the Doctor and Rose are now a paramilitary organization.
Cassandra is an alien name.
An alien.
Sure.
Cassandra.
Yeah. Cassandra.
Spelled with 6 commas and randomly a hyphen.
Cassandra. Yeah, no, I definitely, that's my guess. That's what I'm putting my Cass is right bet on.
Alrighty.
Is it's the end of not Earth world, but a different world.
Okay, so end of not Earth. You think it's an invasion from humanity into another planet is what you've said.
Not an invasion of humanity necessarily, but I do think that the Doctor is going to go to this other space and help that world not end.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting thought. So we'll put a pin in that.
As far as who Cassandra is, probably the best person in that episode, if I had to guess. based off of historical Cassandras, which if anybody knows anything about historical Cassandras, we all suck. Back in ye olden days of Greek mythology, Cassandra was gifted the ability to see the future from Apollo, hated it, and then Apollo went, "You don't like my gift? Fine. Nobody will believe you fucking ever." And then she had a prophecy of the invasion of Troy and was telling everybody about it, and they went, "Psh, this dumb lady doesn't know
this
anything.
Dumb broad over here.
This dumb broad, this little baby, she don't know what she's talking about. Throw her into prison." And then we all know how that story ended up. So all Cassandras are cursed. And so this Cassandra's also probably cursed, but like in a cool way.
Well, we will both find out. Well, you'll find out. I already know. So you will find out how wrong or right you are as we watch this episode of Doctor Who Series 1, Episode 2, The End of the World. Ooh.
Ooh-wee! End of the world! This episode of Who is My Doctor is brought to you by your mom. Got him. Back to the episode.
And we are back.
Oh,
from
boy.
From all of Cassie's guesses being wrong.
I was so wrong.
Yeah.
My Cass prophecy. Because there was a moment where they stopped in New Rome and I went, oh, I was correct.
Did I guess specifically the myth of Cassandra?
And then they zoom right past it, and I could not have been more wrong.
Yeah, they open the episode with just letting Christopher Eccleston play with all the buttons and dials they stuck on.
Play with buttons and dials, specifically the magnetic tiles that make up the control panel of the TARDIS.
Yeah, he has a time plunger. It's a plunger that takes you through time. It flushes the time toilet inside the console. But they keep going a little bit further, and then they eventually wind up in the year 5.5/Apple/26.
Apple?
I can't believe that even 5 billion years in the future, mega corporations can own entire years like Apple.
Oh, ugh, gross.
They even brought in an iPod to really emphasize
gross.
it.
A jukebox iPod. The irony in that is when I was growing up, my cousin had an iPod like stand, a speaker that, you could plug it in and it would charge and you could play its music. And it was a jukebox. It was a small jukebox. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And so them wheeling out this actual jukebox and saying it's an iPod, it just came full circle for me. That was a joke not made for me, but I appreciated it specifically.
Well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here because when they first arrive, they arrive on this satellite observation deck sort of situation.
Actually, even before that, I did also have another. I had a revelation during the theme song.
What's that?
That's where Rick and Mortar got.
Rick and Mortar?
Rick and Mortar. I don't know if we wanted to say the name of it just because it's like a.
No, you can say Rick and Morty.
But yeah, I watching and actually paying attention to the theme song this time, I was like, oh, hey, wait a second. This sounds familiar because of something else that was very clearly inspired by this.
There's been a lot of theme songs that are inspired by this. Rick and Morty is one of the most obvious ones, for sure.
I mean, we could even take this full on and say that you could argue as well that Rick is a Time Lord and Morty is his pet companion, but that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said that it's sort of borrowing the spirit of Doctor Who and this like older figure and younger figure traveling through the universe together. Because
the very clear comparison is Doc Brown and Marty McFly, but from what I understand, and it's a deviation of it, Doctor Who seems to like to enlist the help of a female companion.
Not always.
Not always.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Throughout history, the various doctors have picked up different companions. Usually they're contemporary.
They're special friends.
I do think there are more women than men, like in the whole. But the longest running companion any Doctor ever had was a male.
So do all of the male companions, do they fit in the Doctor's clothes? Are they just the Doctor's Allens?
It is. They don't necessarily share clothing, but the companion I was mentioning of is the second Doctor's companion, whose name was Jamie McCrimmon.
Whoa!
Who is extremely Scottish.
Whoa!
But his actor and Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor's actor, really enjoyed playing up the implication that they were in a gay relationship together.
Saucy. In like this 60s,
as
70s?
much as far as they could.
So they were Ken and Alan.
A little bit. Like they pushed it as far as they could back then. Ooh. Like they couldn't say anything, but they could like jokingly hold hands, like
hachi-machi.
Because back then they were shooting on film.
Yeah.
And so they could only afford to do 2 takes. Because otherwise you'd be wasting film, and so they would just do it in both takes, and then what are you gonna do?
Those cheeky fucks.
Yeah,
love that.
But yes, I do think more often than not he picks up a female companion. But throughout history, it's been multiple times. Usually, it's a contemporary. Sometimes, especially in the classic show, they haven't really done that much in the new show. They'll have people throughout time. Like if they're from a different era in human history come along.
Interesting. Okay.
There is one companion that's not even human, but you'll meet them later.
Okay. Oh, and I was completely wrong about the end of the world.
Yes, you are completely wrong about the end of the world. This is the end of Earth as we know it. Though not even an invasion. It's just the sun is being freed to expand into a red giant.
Yeah, when they said that it was the end of our world, I went, man.
Yep. They reveal that the Earth has been maintained by what's called the National Trust.
By science!
More accurately, by money!
By money and science!
Yes, they've been using gravity satellites to hold the sun in place, and they've used money science to keep the Earth as we know it, which was, according to them, a classic Earth, and definitely not to save money on having to come up with a different map to map over the Earth globe in their After Effects program.
The justification for that was, the continents did move. They moved them back. Classic Earth.
Yeah, we tried New Coke and we didn't like it, so we have Classic Coke back again. But now the National Trust has run out of money, and so they are freeing the sun, and the sun very quickly, in about 30 minutes, expands to its red giant form.
Almost exactly 30 minutes.
To swallow up the Earth.
There was a part of me that did appreciate the fact that the countdown in the show was, I think, real time.
It was, I'm sure it wasn't, like, down to the second, but
Well, no, because they had 5 minutes, and then suddenly they had 10 seconds, so, for theatrics.
Yeah, so, but you could feel like there was at least an attempt to maintain a sense of,
Well, because when they got down to 25 minutes, I was like, yep, we're about halfway through this episode.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah, to their credit, it does give it this sense of, like, verisimilitude, where you're like, okay, we understand that time is flowing at this rate, and so by the time where time does have to skip forward a little bit, you kind of don't notice it.
We understand that things have happened that were not crucial to the telling of this particular story.
Yes.
None of that super matters. I just a little detail that I appreciated.
So they are on this observation deck, and they're not supposed to be there. So the steward quickly tries to accost them and ask them why they're there. And the Doctor reveals that he has an invitation on, but the invitation, as we see it, is a blank piece of paper.
Psychic paper.
Psychic paper.
That's some charlatan bullshit, and I want it.
It's funny, they actually made it up because this new series is a different format from the old series. Mm-hmm. The old series, every series would have like 4 stories in it, but each story was 4 to 6 episodes long.
Okay, so you would have about 16 to 20 episodes
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a longer but each episode was also only 30 minutes, so it ends up being about 2 hours of content for a single story. But not every story that works for Doctor Who worked in that time format. Mm-hmm. So there were some times where, to pad out a story, the Doctor, in a place where he's clearly not supposed to be, winds up in prison a lot. If you just keep your main character stuck in timeout, you really can draw out that story a little bit longer than you probably should. However, now that each story has been cut down to lasting about 45 minutes, and there are only a couple of two-parters, they can't do that all the time. But they have still built in this narrative in the universe there. People will still arrest the Doctor. So now he pulls out psychic paper and he goes wherever he wants.
I understand. So it's... it is a tool meant to continue the story.
Yes, it is a tool that helps expedite the story in a believable fashion.
That is the word I was looking for.
Yes. Shortly after that, a small parade of aliens show up.
Frankly, a surprising amount of impressive makeup and costume work.
Yeah.
Like, considering how janky the computer graphics are, but we forgive it because it's television in the early 2000s. The makeup and costumes and, like, some of the, I suppose, puppets? Like,
I mean, I think the face
puppets.
of Bo is definitely a puppet.
Yeah, the face of Bo is, because I spent a good couple minutes going, is that practical or is that computer? Because either one, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And it truly wasn't until I was catching how light was hitting it in a specific way, and, you know, light travels through water different, and that's harder to
And you
animate.
can compare it to the little CGI chrome robots
yes,
that are...
and so I was like, oh my god, that's real. And yeah, and the like tree people, the little guy that's like hovering around on like what is effectively the Baby Yoda.
He's he's on a little Roomba.
Yeah, on his own little Roomba, but like, you know, obviously it was just the actor's face. And then everything else was all like
prosthetic,
like puppet, basically, because you know, he couldn't really move any of that.
Well, it's the only way you could get, like, because he had little feet.
He had his fake little feet that were definitely wiggling, waggling any way they wanted, but everything else looked good. Even the, like, her name was Jabe.
Yes, Jabe. The trees from the forest of, I think it was the forest of Cheem.
She a descendant of the rainforest.
Yes.
Her edges, which is also like, I say that as the prosthetics that were on her head, not her edges, but like it works in both contexts, but they smooth. Like you could not tell that you could clearly tell, but it wasn't obvious that it was a latex foam headpiece.
Yeah, it didn't look fake. We know it is fake because we're watching a TV show.
But you could not see any part where it was like, oh, it's lifting up.
There's no seams.
Icky, yeah.
There was only one moment I noticed the entire episode where it happened, and it's not even on her face; it's her chest, because they also put her in like a chest piece,
and her like hands too.
Yeah,
she moved her hand in a specific way, but her hand didn't move.
Yeah, like she would move, and her skin would move a little more than it's supposed to,
or a little less.
Yeah,
in
or
this
a little
case,
less.
Where she was moving it, but then her finger was not. Her fingers were not going.
But if that's the worst you can say about
her hands looked funny.
Yeah. Like that's it's so good, especially for 2005.
Yeah,
it
did feel a little face-offy, which I can forgive that because hey, it's fine. It was entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
I spent a better part of that episode looking at everybody in the background because that was sometimes more interesting.
Yeah, I really feel like this was a really nice way of the show sort of pulling you back gently from what we know as the modern world. Because that first episode was entirely, you know, in the context of the show, modern day. It was it was 2005 London.
It was something you're familiar with, and now second episode, let's take you into something you are uber super not familiar with. We do not want you to get comfortable in this being just another.
I would actually disagree. I think while you are looking at all of these like alien species, they're anchored to knowing the Earth is just there. So I was thinking it's a nice way of like showcasing, like it gives you the feeling of this like we're not just a sci-fi show set in the modern day world, but we're also very human centric in the sense that our main character is human, or not our main character, but our like.
Yeah, she could be the main female protagonist.
Yeah, our audience surrogate is there, and they are a constant, and they are human. The Doctor looks human. They both have a very strong care for Earth as a planet, but at the same time, we can have this story that showcases the kind of impressive work we can do designing alien species.
However, we're still going to make the aliens a little bit human because they all assumed gender, which I know wasn't a huge discussion topic in 2005. It's just something I noticed.
Yeah, there is something very well. We say that, but then at one point, Cassandra says that she grew up on the Earth as a little boy.
I mean, to be fair, I'm also Cassandra, and I too refer to myself as a little boy. Yeah, so I think that's just a trait with the name, my guy. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that could just be. I mean, it could be a joke or it could be a reveal. Who knows?
I mean, because she also Rose also does refer to Cassandra at one point as Michael Jackson, which like
it was before he had died.
Yes, yep. But I was like, okay, maybe they're trying to do something, and it's just the joke isn't landing.
Yeah, it's one of those like you have to accept it as a 2005 joke.
Brain in a jar.
Yeah, a little bit. But the aliens start exchanging gifts with one another, and the Doctor realizes he didn't bring anything, but he is standing in front of a tree person. So the best thing you can give a tree is carbon dioxide and
air from my lungs. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that this year for everybody's holiday presents.
and the tree's like really impressed by it though. She's like, "Ooh, how intimate!"
Oh my god!
Just like it seems to turn her on a little bit, which is funny.
It's as if you went to somebody's house, like a housewarming present, and you said, "I don't have anything for you, but here is a kiss on the cheek.
Here's a smooch from my lips.
Here is a pat on the head."
Here's a slap on the ass.
Yeah, which I wouldn't say no thank you. I would be a little confused, but I would accept that as a gift. Depending on the person.
Depending on the person, that is a good way of putting it.
And the Doctor is clearly somebody that Jabe is interested in.
Yes.
So, you know.
Or at least Jabe is interested in the Doctor.
In the concept of.
She seems, and again, it could be the intimacy of it, but it does seem that she's like at least intrigued enough by him that it's.
Well, because she's intrigued enough to the point where she uses her little like scan pad. Her little leapfrog pad.
Little leapfrog pad?
With a scanning accessory. Specifically because she is curious about what he is.
Yes.
And so there is that part that's like she's intrigued from the get-go.
Yeah, I have to wonder if she was intrigued in that, like she was scanning him to find out his species. One, if she was just generally curious what he was, or if she was like, "Can I hit that? Does my
Is he tree?
Can my flower receive that pollen?"
Ew.
She's a tree.
Ew.
She's a tree. That's how it works for them. But we also meet, I think, the adherents of the repeated meme.
Can my flower receive that pollen? Ugh. So the term meme
okay.
Was that established in 2005?
I don't know. I will say the term meme.
What does meme mean?
So meme is short for mimetic, which basically is this mimetic, and that just means an idea. So that when they see a repeat,
your voice sputtered out, so you sounded very robot-y.
So, but that's not necessarily what meme means. Technically, a literal definition of a meme is just an idea. Mm-hmm. What we understand as a meme is a thing shared around on the internet.
An idea shared around on the internet.
Yeah, basically. It's like we understand this being this kind of meme, this kind of idea that we can share, because otherwise it's kind of difficult to define a meme, because it can be so many different things.
Yeah.
It can be a video, it can be an image, it could be a quote, it could be it's so many things that it comes down to just an idea or a meme. And so the adherents of the repeated meme are not just people who post on Tumblr a lot. It means, the idea is their adherence to an idea.
That was one of the only times, and I'm sure that more are to come, where I went, this show is too smart for me. I don't get it, because I'm thinking that this is underneath each of their robes is just a dog in a room on fire going, this is fine.
Just every single one of them goes, look at all those chickens.
And they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
Yeah.
Just that's what they do in their room when they're not handing out their present orbs, which is what they hand out. They hand out little present orbs.
just little pinballs.
We also meet Lady Cassandra O'Brien.
I could not have been more wrong about Homegirl.
Lady Cassandra O'Brien, Delta 17.
Her father was from Texas.
And her mother was from the Arctic desert.
The Arctic. Her mother was a penguin, and her father was a racist.
Why do you assume if he's from Texas, he's a racist?
Am I wrong?
Obviously, her father was a longhorn steer.
Sorry.
That's why she's the last human. You mix a longhorn steer with a penguin, and you get a person.
Sorry. I didn't know that that's how science works 5 billion years in the future. You get a piece of skin.
But she has had so much plastic surgery done that she is effectively a piece of paper with blood running in the middle of it and a face.
Oh, God. There's certain, hi. I'm a big fan of true crime. This was one of the first times I watched a show and went, that's fucked up. It just reminded me specifically of, in the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum, they have skin samples in the Ed Gein room.
Oh, no.
They're not like the people that he killed and murdered and, ripped the skin off of. They are human specimens that were specifically medical specimens that were donated to the museum, so you as the guest could visualize and see what you might have seen in his fucked up little farmhouse room.
Oh no.
So yeah, seeing Cassandra like that, I went,
yeah, especially because you can. It's not that she's just skin. You can see the blood pumping underneath it.
That was almost a saving grace. The thing that really irked me, and it's just a little nitpicky, a little something. Her mouth went all the way through.
Yeah,
her mouth was just a hole.
Her mouth, there was just black.
It wasn't just whole. You could see through to the other side.
Well, you almost wonder because.
I hated that. Where are her vocal cords?
Yeah, I almost kind of wonder if her face is an illusion.
Illusion or not, it's gross.
Because there's also no eye stalk behind the eye. It's just an eyeball.
I would imagine that any sort of nerve endings, nerves and such that would attach are just stretched out so thin.
They've had so many tiny little thin extension cords plugged in from her eyes to the brain.
No reason, no way that her brain is in control of the rest of her body with a question mark. Because her brain is just in a jar under her stand. Her skin, though, is stretched across a metal frame being pinched in place with binder clips. I don't know how her brain functions in this scenario.
Do you think she's just in pain constantly
Yes.
from those binder clips?
Actually, no. Nerves, too thin. Can't feel a thing.
But
and
yes.
she needs constant moisturization, which, relatable. I wash my hands a lot at work.
Moisturize me.
Also in constant need of moisturization. So if I could have two little dudes
with just a jar of lotion in each one in their hand.
Moisturize me.
One with moisturizer, one with hand sanitizer, just so you have options. Mm-hmm. But she is apparently the last human, despite the fact that she looks
last pure human.
The last pure human, the last human who has two sets of purely human parents.
So I retcon what I said before. Her mother was not a penguin.
Yes, that is true, and her father was not a steer. I was also wrong.
Penguins probably, and yeah. The Arctic desert.
And Cassandra brings out two presents to commemorate Earth. The last ostrich egg, which ostriches, according to legend, have a 50-foot wingspan and breathe fire.
As a zoologist, I can confirm that is correct.
With 3 degrees in zoology.
Mm-hmm. That is very true and accurate. Any cave drawings of primeval creatures and medieval texts that depict dragons, those were just ostriches.
And she also brings out what she calls, we've already sort of referenced it before, but an iPod that was really a jukebox. And the jukebox holds classical music, including the song that they first play, Tainted Love, in which the lyrics, specifically being "Sometimes I feel I've got to run away," seem to hit a little too close to home for Rose, and she has to run away.
I would argue for both Rose and the Doctor, but...
Yes, I will say that I don't know if any joke ever continues being funny quite like people of the future referring to modern music as classical music.
Well, even now, like, you can refer to something as like, oh, it's an oldies, and then put on a song from 1982.
Yep.
Because that's like 40 years old.
That is 40 years old.
In my head, the 80s were only like 20 years ago. It'll work.
But it's one of the, like, it's always funny, especially like the weirder or more modern a song that you pick is.
I will say, jumping ahead a little bit, they do play an Earth ballad, which is Toxic by one Britney Spears. And that joke is funny no matter when.
Like, just the song Toxic, you can kind of drop in anywhere and it's funny.
Toxic being referred to as a ballad. We're not talking Beethoven. We're not talking about Mozart.
Makes you picture like
talking about Toxic,
like an old time balladeer with a not a guitar, but
a lute.
A lute, just wandering the streets. You're toxic, I'm slipping under.
Those are the only lyrics I know.
With the taste of the poison.
Yeah, there you go.
His little jester hat jingles as he strolls by. But as Rose sort of ruminates off in the corner, she meets one of the crew members who needs permission to speak.
But she has to speak to ask for permission.
Right, it's
just a little wacky.
It also is just one of those working conditions haven't improved in 5 billion years.
No.
It's 5 billion years and we still have people who are like, oh yeah, I'm too poor to talk.
But also, I did have the thought, like, how traumatizing to be whisked away to a time that you are not even kind of in touch with. 5 billion years in the future, and not only are you having to grapple with the fact that everyone you knew and loved is long gone and forgotten, but you're also about to watch your home planet burst into flames.
Not just everything that you know, but everything you probably could have known in your time.
Any sense of familiarity to you just gone.
Yes. I mean, that's partly why she had to run away. She was freaking out about seeing all of these, very obvious aliens.
And then being represented or having the human race being represented by
a bedsheet. By
the, quote, bitchy trampoline.
Yeah, later on, Rose refers to her as a bitchy trampoline. What a I hope Russell the Davies felt really proud of himself when he wrote that one, because that's a good jab.
And it's right there.
And it's the kind of jab that only works.
It's right there.
Like you can never refer to anyone else as a bitch.
I could not go into work and refer to one of my nasty customers as a, quote, bitchy trampoline, unquote. This will be my new task. Every day I'll go into work trying to find my one true bitchy trampoline.
But when the doctor comes over to try and comfort Rose because she's clearly panicking in the corner, she starts pressing the doctor for where he's from, because he's also an alien. He just looks human.
He just says he's from the here and now.
He's from around. He's really defensive about it.
I did like, though, that as she's, like, losing herself, being upset that her mom is dead, he takes her phone and he puts like a little timeless transmitter into the back. And in that moment you go, oh, the doctor is a little empathetic.
Yeah, he does seem to, he does genuinely like people. He's just kind of bad at communicating to them.
Well, I think a lot of it is just that he doesn't understand. And he is, after all, an alien.
Yeah, that is true.
And I do think that a lot of scholars do say that the thing that make humans is the breadth of emotion. Mm-hmm. And so I can only imagine being a alien not understanding emotion and such a wide breadth. Not really knowing what to do with that, and especially not knowing how to deal with a girl fresh out of her teens.
Yep.
Hormonal.
Like she's either
frontal cortex not fully there yet.
Yeah, she's either about to be 20 or has just turned 20 and therefore knows so little about what's about to happen to her for the rest of her life.
Yeah. And she's been taken away from her home, the poor thing.
I mean, she chose to go away.
She went willingly with a stranger,
That
though.
is true. And
she didn't realize what she was doing until halfway through the episode, where she went, "Oh no, I'm traveling with a stranger." Whoops.
Oh, I fucked up. The worker that she'd been talked with is working on the plumbing, and in the vent that she's working in finds a little robot, a little mechanical bug. It's only got 4 legs. They keep calling it spiders, but it only has 4 legs. So it's not a spider. It's a bug.
It could just be a spy.
It's or a derp. It looks like those. It looks like a small version of the walkie thingies from War of the Worlds.
That it does.
And apparently, it is wandering around all of Platform 1, and one of them finds their way into the steward's room, where it lowers the sun filter on
it doesn't
him.
find its way. The meme lords give the steward one of their gifts of peace.
Yes,
and he takes it in. So
into
he
his office.
Willfully takes it into his office.
Yeah, not realizing what it is, but then it opens up and the little bug comes out, and it crawls around for a little bit until it gets onto his desk, and then pushes one button and lowers the sun filter. Which
I feel like if a sun filter is there for your protection, there should at least be 3 buttons you're pressing.
Or maybe just no buttons. Maybe it just shouldn't be low. Maybe there shouldn't be a way to lower that.
I mean, there's practicality to that, I'm sure.
I'm sure someone out there breathes vacuum.
At some point, there has to be a practical purpose for that. But, yeah. There should have been way more than the one button.
Gertrude, we have to lower the sun filters. How else will we eject the pour out into the vacuum of space?
Zach, if they pick their boogers, where are they supposed to flick them? Gotta lower the sun filter.
Honey, you know I hate when you smoke in here. Lower the sun filter at least and hold your cigarette outside.
Cigarette bursts into flames, is gone in milliseconds.
Yeah, it is funny whenever the sun filter lowers and you could see like the trail of the sun's heat. I'm like, that's not how heat works.
And it's not how heat works. And also, sun filter lowers, the room that you're in is exponentially hot and there is no oxygen.
Yeah, it's like all the oxygen would immediately get sucked out.
I believe the oxygen might actually catch, like, I think that the room itself would catch fire.
It's possible. I don't know if it would instantly catch fire without some kind of spark. Or unless, because they say that with the shields around it, it only gets up to about 480 degrees. So it's still too hot to live in. But it's not so hot that it instantly ignites the atmosphere.
I suppose you could bake a nice little tray of cookies in those conditions.
Instantly burn a tray of cookies. No, I guess 480 degrees would just cook probably too fast to be satisfying. It would get the
outside, but then the inside would still be ooey gooey and raw.
So what we're saying is the steward, when he got burned alive, he's still ooey gooey and raw in the center.
Yeah.
A nice stewardy center.
Squishy.
The doctor decides to investigate what's going on, and
he said, "Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah.
Jabe, the tree woman, comes along, and
what's going on?
Jabe seems to know what race the doctor is. We could skip ahead a little bit here. That she refers to him as a Time Lord.
And she apologizes. I'm sorry for your planet. I didn't know if that was because her race had something to do with it, or if it was just a general, like, ooh, that's rough, buddy.
So this is, again, skipping to the end of the episode a little bit, but the doctor explains that...
The war.
Yeah, the war...
war lore.
Yeah, the Time War. Time Lord's war lore.
One more time, bud.
The Time Lord's war lore.
There we go.
They apparently lost the war very badly, and their planet and entire species were burned from existence, with the doctor now believing himself to be the last Time Lord. And that is why when she says, "I'm sorry," he's already crying.
Your term of phrase, "believes to be," leads me to believe there are other Time Lords?
I mean, the belief in this moment is that there is only the Doctor. Or rather, before that moment, the belief was there wasn't even the Doctor.
Yeah, him cry, him soft.
Yeah,
Him sad.
he carries a deep sadness within him that all actors love carrying.
My note was he's running from his past, and then I went, oh no, he's mourning his past.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yep, he's got a bit of survivor's guilt. Rose decides to confront Cassandra about being supposedly the last human, despite
My God.
looking like quote-unquote a bitchy trampoline.
Oh, she's so bad. She just keeps talking about how humans were interbreeding with other races and being human-ish.
Yeah, they were Digimon humans and Pokemon humans.
Half humans.
Half humans, human-ish.
I was really rooting for Cassandra to be decent.
Like, secretly cool, even though she was, like, rich and spoiled.
Conceptually, I love that idea of a skin frame, but as soon as she opened her hole of a mouth...
Well, you gotta remember, Cassie, she's literally heartless.
Where does the blood come from?
That's a good question. I didn't think about that until I made that joke.
Ew.
Inside, like, one of the compartments is just, like, not even her heart, it's just like an accordion. It's like...
Oh my God.
Pumping blood through her body. And,
because the blood is pulsing in her, like, paper thin.
yeah, you could see it moving.
Yes. She's got glass bones and paper skin. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. This is gonna bother me now.
Yeah. Well, then after...
Thankfully, I will not get closure because I don't think Cassandra comes back.
Maybe.
Uh-oh. What-whoa.
They all confront everyone in the main gallery, and it's revealed that Cassandra made up the adherents of the repeated meme. And she is actually the one behind all of this because she was hoping to create a hostage situation where she would make all the profit from it. But she had a backup plan, which is kill everyone on it, and she just has stocks in their opposing companies, and they'll all make a lot of money when all their competitors die.
I hate her.
Why is this all just feeling like now? This is 5 billion years in the future, and not a single thing is improved.
This is 5 billion years in the future. 20-ish years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Calipatism. Calipiterism. Cassandra uses teleportation tech to get away, and the spiders all explode to lower the shields, and the only way to raise the shields back up is to go across this platform of moving fans. And I feel like the platform of moving fans seemed a lot more tense on paper.
Oh my God.
Because they're going so slow.
It is annoying. Because it is beefing up the moment. It's trying to build intensity and build suspense. The only thing it was building in me was frustration and annoyance.
Because there's many times where it's just like, and step, and then by the end of it, she's like, oh, the heat was so much it burned the tree woman alive. I was like, yeah.
Instantaneously, it burned her alive.
It wouldn't have done that if you had just moved a little bit faster, which you absolutely could have done because of how slow the fans were moving.
He spent a lot of time thinking, which feels odd for a Time Lord.
It feels odd
to spend a lot of time considering the options.
It feels a lot like really weird for the Doctor, even just given the last episode we saw. Because he seems one that's way more willing to, like, jump in and do
almost.
things. Yeah. Or it just feels weird that he's, like, just kind of standing there like, huh?
Perhaps he was too taken aback with grief.
He was still thinking about it. He had a lot on his mind. It's like, yeah, actually, I could jump in front of this fan, but right now I'm thinking about my mom and how my mom's dead.
He's thinking about where Cassandra's heart is.
Is that a heart, or is it just like an accordion?
Yeah, that's what's taking him a minute.
He keeps thinking he's about to go, and then he, like, ADHD's in another thought. But the Doctor does manage to pull the lever down and save the day. Everyone, most of them survive. The guy in the Roomba does get burnt alive. So not everyone survives, unfortunately, but...
the big old head was okay.
The big old face of Bo was just fine.
Face of Bo.
He's the face of... Yeah, I don't...
What an icon.
Yeah, right? Just because I don't know if they... I have to look closer, but it really looks like at the end of his hair there are like little eyeballs, almost like he's a beholder.
I really hope that the face of Bo still exists in somebody's, like, collection room.
I mean, oh, you mean like the prop
Like
face
the prop, yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's probably... I mean, that's... Probably. I'm not... Without going into much, the face of Bo does come back, so it's at least prominent enough that someone might want to keep it around.
Well, because I also imagine, too, because of, I suppose, reboot, the Doctor Who reboot of this time and era, there had to have been somebody that was just itching for new memorabilia.
If I had to guess, there's actually a Doctor Who museum.
I'm going to look it up.
In Cardiff. Or at least it was in Cardiff. It may have moved, but if I had to guess, it's there. I'd have to guess it's at the Doctor Who Museum. But then, after they save the day, the Doctor cracks open that ostrich egg and finds the teleportation device, and then reverses it to bring Cassandra back. And then immediately her skin starts drying out because she made the whole place way too dang hot. Cassie, have you ever seen a villain die from lack of lotion before?
I really wish in that moment that we had a camera on my face, because I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, you were genuinely kind of horrified.
I just wasn't it had almost 3D movie qualities, where the bits were just coming right at you.
Yep. And it's not just like the bits, it's that you can see her skin like changing color and texture.
I could see her eyes changing color first, and that's the part that threw me off.
Yeah, that wasn't great. But then Rose tells the Doctor to save her, and his response is, everything has its time and everything dies, and then just stares at her. Not at Rose, at Cassandra.
Well, he doesn't have lotion. Nobody has any lotion.
Yeah, but I'm more just like, it's sort of...
How would he save her?
It's still just it's kind of brutal to be like, just like if I like, even if I couldn't save, like, say there was say there was an animal on the side of the road and it had been hit by a car and was already gonna die, and I just went, everything dies. That's brutal.
That's different. If the animal said, hey, so I'm going to kill all of these other animals and make a bunch of money off of that. If you saw Trump dying because he didn't have enough lotion, would you say, here you go, buddy. Here's a tube of Aquaphor.
That man's never had enough lotion, so that's kind of...
Here's a tube of Aquaphor. Save yourself.
Here's some CeraVe on the house.
My treat. Because I think in that situation as well, I would go, ooh, sorry, buddy, fresh out, as I'm tucking my Carmex away in my back pocket.
And so they've saved the day, but it doesn't seem that anyone got to actually watch the Earth burn to a crisp, because they were all trying to save themselves. So the Doctor's way of helping her is by taking her back. I don't know if it's necessarily to 2005, but it's back to the Earth she knows. And he explains that whole situation about his species, basically being extinct except for him. And that he is the last of the Time Lords. And then they go off and get fries together.
Yep. Which, you know what? I feel like I would also do something very similar. It's very relatable to go through traumatic events and go,
I'm hungry.
I want some French fries.
Is there a McDonald's near here? I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
So now this is your second episode here with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. Do you have a better opinion of him now than you did last time, or is this... So
I'm still taken aback a little bit by the dynamic between him and Rose, because at one point I wrote down brother-sister dynamic, because it did feel... When he takes away her phone and then puts in the little, like, transmitter, it did feel a little bit like, I can see you're clearly upset. Let me do the thing as like your quote caretaker in this moment to make you feel better. Mm-hmm. Which I went, okay, cool. I can get behind like a brother sister, like that sort of thing, because she does mention her dad in this one. I think that he's just kind of a puff of air. I don't know that we care that he exists or not. So I disregarded that sort of dynamic. But then she like kind of grabs his hand and like puts her head like on his shoulder, which it could go either way. So I'm just still a little confused by what their relationship to one another is. Because although he did reveal some of his more intimate details, I suppose, or like backstory, his own personal Time Lord lore, there were still some things there is definitely still things that she does not know. He's still, for all intents and purposes, a stranger to her, even more so now than before, because she knows for certain he is not human.
Yeah.
And there is not any other person like him. So I suppose I will just have to wait and see what it turns into, because right now it's still kind of in like a, what are we? And it.
I mean, I will say that
that sort of ambiguity is not my favorite thing. I do like having very clear labels. It's just a neurodivergent thing, but you know.
I mean, there is something to be said, because they brought it up in the first episode that Rose, at least in her personal history, has thrown herself at men when she definitely should not have. She talks in the first episode about having a boyfriend in high school that she dropped out of high school for, and that boyfriend is not Mickey. So clearly that she has some kind of history of just throwing herself at guys.
Even still,
which, we bring up her dad. I'm not going to say she has daddy issues, but I'm not going to say she doesn't.
I mean, considering how not super nurturing her mom is. But I suppose this is I'm curious enough to wait and see how this all pans out. I did also not realize that there are 13. How are there 13 series? What?
If we're being real, the show has technically been on the air for 60 years.
We're only doing this part.
No, we're not. We will only do stuff if you're interested in it, or if I think there's something that is particularly good to show you,
or a Patreon special if we get to that part.
That could be fun. Like, that could be fun if we end up in a position where we can do something special. We'll leave that to you guys who are listening to this.
If that makes it into the episode. Guys? If that makes it into the episode, which
message us on our various social medias, and you can let us know if that would be interesting to you. Otherwise, we're just going to keep chugging along here through the new Revived series.
Give us 5 stars. Just anywhere. Yelp.
Just even you could even just tweet at us the words 5 stars, and we'll still feel the appreciation. But also, 5 stars does help with the various podcast algorithms, so that would be very nice to.
You can mail me via carrier pigeon 5 gold star stickers, and I will get the message. Or 4, or 3 if you're not.
3.5 would feel a little bit better than 4, I think. Knowing that you put in the effort to cut, not even more than 4, but 3.5 would feel better than 3.
One of the stars had to go on the outside of the envelope to keep it closed.
That would be such a, we get the envelope, oh, just only 1 star? There's more stars in here!
I look forward to the rest of this. For anybody keeping count, my current tally out of 2 episodes is, I only got 1 of them right, so...
So we're now, you're one up and 1 down.
1 up and 1 down. I've made 2 guesses for each episode, so out of 4... I've only gotten 2 correct, which, 50%.
Yeah, it's not too bad for so far, but we will see how that stacks up as we keep going through this new series. Next time on Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
We'll find out together. Hey, Postpod Zach is back. Once again, thank you so much for listening. We hope you had a great time. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe, 5 stars, whatever offering you might have to feed the great maw of the algorithm. You can also follow us at WimDpod on Twitter, Blue Sky, and on Instagram. That's WIMDPOD. There we'll post special previews, or you can just let us know what you think about the podcast. And once again, as part of our premiere, there is still 1 more episode out for you to listen to right now. So we'll be right back with The Unquiet Dead.